Welcome back to Tech Stack for all you tech enthusiasts. This is part 4 of our Laravel 13 Complete Beginner series, and today we're going to learn about controllers in Laravel. A controller receives HTTP requests, processes them, and returns a response by working with models and views. Before we jump into coding, let's understand how controllers work with the help of a simple diagram. The user sends a request, and the controller receives it first. The controller processes the request and gets data from the model. The controller sends the data to the view, and the view displays the response to the user. Now it's time to create our first controller. Open the terminal and run the Artisan command. PHP Artisan make controller employee controller. This command will automatically create a new controller file named employee controller.php inside the app HTTP controllers folder. Now let's create a function called getEmployeeDepartment inside employee controller. This function will handle the logic for getting employee department data. Inside this function, we'll simply return the value HR for now. This is just a basic example to check if our controller method is working correctly. Now let's go to web.php and create a route for our controller method. First, copy the namespace from the controller, app HTTP controllers, and use it in web.php. This tells Laravel where to find our controller before we use it in the route. Now copy the controller name and use it as well. This allows us to directly call the controller method inside the route definition. Now let's define a route using route get and connect it with our controller method. First, we will define the URL path employee for this route. Now use square brackets, and inside we will use the controller name. Now use employee controller class. This tells Laravel exactly which controller class we are referring to. Now use the function name getEmployeeDepartment inside single quotes. This tells Laravel which specific function inside the controller should handle this route. Now let's start the Laravel server by running PHP Artisan serve in the terminal. Now the server is running. Let's open the browser and test the employee route. Perfect, it's working correctly. Now let's create another method in employee controller called showEmployeeName, which will handle route parameters. This function will allow us to receive dynamic data from the URL and use it inside the controller. Now return employee name is John. This is just a basic example to test our new controller method before passing dynamic parameters. Now let's go to web.php and define a route for the showEmployeeName function. Here we will connect a URL with the controller method, so Laravel knows which function to call. First, we will define the route URL as showname. Now we will make the route dynamic by adding a parameter like name. This name is a route parameter that allows us to pass dynamic values through the URL. Now use the function name showEmployeeName. This tells Laravel to call the showEmployeeName function when this route is accessed. Now in the controller method, we will accept the parameter using $name. This allows Laravel to pass the value from the URL into the function. Now let's open the browser and test our route with the parameter. Now in the browser, we will visit showname and pass a value to test it. As you can see, when we change the value in the URL, the output is changing dynamically. Now let's create a Blade View file named employeename.blade.php to display the employee name properly in the UI. Instead of returning plain text from the controller, we will now pass data to a view and display it in a structured way. Inside the view, we'll add an H1 tag and display employee name as John. This will be our simple static output before we pass dynamic data from the controller. Now let's update the showEmployeeName method and return the employee name view from the controller. Now let's open the browser and test our view output. Perfect, it's working fine. Now let's pass the dynamic data from the controller to the view using an array. This sends the name variable to the Blade view so we can display it dynamically. Now in the Blade view, we will display the variable using double curly braces. In Laravel Blade, double curly braces are used to echo or display data safely in the view. Now let's open the browser and see if the dynamic data is being displayed correctly. Perfect. As you can see, when we change the value in the URL, it is updating dynamically in the view. Now we will create a nested view. First, create a folder named Employee. This helps us organize our Blade files in a structured way, especially when working on large applications. Now inside the Employee folder, we will create a new Blade file called info.blade.php. Now in H1, show employee info. This is just to confirm our nested view is created and working properly. Now let's go to the controller and create a new method called employee info. This function will be used to return our nested view. Now inside the function, we will return the nested view using viewEmployee.info. This tells Laravel to load the info.blade.php file inside the employee folder. In web.php, define a route for our nested view. This route will call the employee info method from the controller and display the nested Blade view. Now let's open the browser and test our nested route. As you can see, our nested route is working perfectly and the view is loading successfully. If you're passionate about learning new technologies, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Tech Stack, and keep learning new skills. Thank you. And remember, consistency is the key to success.